Friday, I was back in Germany doing the Bundesliga for ESPN. Archie, the interviewer, and Hamann next to me, Pitchside. First time with Didi, and it was great. I like his sharp opinions. It was Leverkusen against Eintracht Frankfurt, and Eintracht Frankfurt had started the season great. Leverkusen not so great, but it was still a surprise that they fired Ten Hag after just 2 games. I hoped, because I'm biased, I support Eintracht Frankfurt, that they would waited another game, because after we've seen the team this season, Leverkusen that is, they've been like seeing out different fragments in the team. Unfortunately, this time with Kasper Hjulmand, the Danish national coach, and the guy who was fired 10 years ago in Mainz, they looked like a unit again, and we lost 3-1. Grimaldo 2 goals, 2 free kicks. Who is a better free kick shooter at the moment? I mean, Wirtz and Szoboszlai has done it for Liverpool and Germany respectively, but Grimaldo is brilliant in that terms. I have to say Eintracht Frankfurt didn't do a great game. They were a bit too slow. They couldn't take advantage of Duan and the wingers anyway, because sometimes when you isolate the wingers, you want them to come one against one, and I think that too often there were midfielders with their runs took defenders out in that space, so we're ending up not having 1 against 1, which was not an advantage for the great quick Eintracht Frankfurt wingers. But fair enough, Leverkusen deserved to win this game. After the game, we spoke to Kasper Hjulmand. I asked him if we're going to do it in Danish, but we had to do it in English, of course, for ESPN. And he's one of those gaffers, one of those bosses who there's always good quotes from him, because he's a different manager. He's an open manager. And we ending up talking about the body language, the see each other in the eyes, he said. And Archie asked him, what do you mean? I mean what I'm saying. I need players who in the team can look at each other, look in their face, and be sure that they are a team. And wow, did they succeed. Got 2 men sent off. Andrich very early, and it was a funny thing that his second yellow was a slide tackle, misjudged slide tackle. He was a bit angry about that after the game. But the funny thing is that he has a tattoo on his leg with a photo of a guy who makes a late slide tackle. We had Dino Toppmöller was disappointed, of course, because he felt they were, like I said, too slow in their approach to the game. Got Rasmus Christensen injured quite early as well, which was bad for them, because he's a very important player, important leader in this team, and he seems that he will miss the Champions League game against Galatasaray on Thursday coming up. So it was a sad day for Eintracht Frankfurt, and a win for Leverkusen. Leverkusen now with 4 points after, they were leading 3-1 in Bremen, and still managed to just take a point after Bremen came back with 10 players in that game. It was a long trip for me as well, because after the game was finished around midnight. I had to hitchhike back to Frankfurt. I was in bed at 2 o'clock. 5 o'clock I was up early again, taking the first flight to Oslo, then directly in the studio doing the Premier League. We were sitting in the studio for 10.5 hours, and I also worked Sunday, but it could have been worse. I could have a job that I didn't have a passion about. I'm very passionate about that. The good thing is when you work like I've done this weekend, you kind of get updated from all leagues, because you follow everything from Norwegian Second League, First League, La Liga, Bundesliga, of course, and all other leagues around Europe, and especially then the Premier League, of course, that saw Liverpool win at the end as well. An ex-Leverkusen player, Frimpong, he was put on by Slot, and they got a penalty, and the penalty was converted by Salah, who had a bad game, but still he managed to be the top scorer, and I'm meaning the match winner in this game. And he will not be the top scorer because Erling Haaland scored 2, former Dortmund player, scored 2 for Manchester City in their win in the derby against Manchester United. Manchester United looked again very sloppy, slow, and I guess they will discuss now how long this can go on. I mean, we know there's something wrong with the culture at Manchester United. They try to improve that, but the results tells another story. And the weakest kind of part in a system like that is the manager. But Bayern 14-2 after 3 games, 3 wins. It seems like Bayern will go for it. Also in the Champions League, they're playing Chelsea on Wednesday. And that is the first test, because the standard of Bayern is in the Champions League. Bayern-Chelsea in the Champions League, then we all think back of the final when they lost that penalty shootout at Allianz, when Drogba scored that important win with a header on a corner just in the dying minutes. So Champions League week, and we'll be back and do some predictions and analysis of that great tournament called Champions League. Auf Wiedersehen.